Hey, good morning. Welcome to a Sunday morning edition of University of Iowa Big Ten softball with the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. This is game number 4 of the 4-game series between these two softball programs, U of I and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Iowa has won all three, won the first three, 11-8, 9-1 in 5 innings, and yesterday 6-2. So coming into today's games in the Big Ten standings, Iowa in a tie for 5th place with Indiana with a 19-16 record. In 7th place, tied, are Ohio State and Nebraska with 18-16 records. Michigan at 28-5, Minnesota and Wisconsin postponed for the weekend. Not sure that they're going to get that one made up or not, but I would assume they'll try. Minnesota in 2nd place with a 25-7 record. Northwestern is in 3rd place at 23-12. Illinois at 22-13. Iowa's next two opponents are Nebraska, which is tied for 7th, and Illinois, which is in 4th place by itself. So I would think that Hawks need to sweep this series. They've got the first 3 games, but they need to go out and play today in game number 4 to get that sweep. Now, in these first 3 games, interesting as they are, Iowa in game 1 won it 11-8. They scored 10 runs in the last 4 innings, last 4 at-bats. Rutgers started the game off with a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the first. Iowa didn't score until the 3rd inning. That's when Brody Klosterman gave the Hawks their opening game's first run. She walked and was hit around, moved to 2nd, and then she was hit on a single by Kalena Burns. And then Iowa would score 4 times in the top of the 5th inning. To make the score 5-2 in that inning. Klosterman with a single, she scored. It was a 3-run home run hit by Marissa Peak. That was the big blow for the Hawks in that game for the 4 runs, and they had the 5-2 lead. But Rutgers would come back and score 2 of its own in the bottom, or 3 of its own in the bottom of the 5th inning. Iowa then would come back in the top of the 6th and get solo home runs from Grace Baines, her second as a Hawkeye, and Brody Klosterman, her first as an Iowa Hawkeye, to take a 7-5 lead. And then it was Rutgers scoring once in the bottom of the 6th to make it 7-6, but Iowa would get 4 in the top of the 7th inning, virtue of a grand slam home run hit by Arely Bogar, her 3rd home run of her career, first grand slam. Iowa wins game 1 11-8, and getting the win for the Hawks was Lauren Shaw. She came in for Sarah Lehman. Lehman had pitched 4 1/3 innings, and then Lauren would come in and finish the final 2 2/3 innings, and Iowa would win the game 11-8. In game number 2, which was the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, Iowa exploded early in that opening at-bat. Walks to Brody Klosterman and Riley Sheehy was followed by a 3-run home run from Kalena Burns, and then it was just all Iowa from there. Burns, her first of 2 home runs on the weekend. Iowa would score 3 more times in the top of the 3rd inning to take a 6-0 lead. And then in the top of the 4th inning, they'd get 3 more runs on a 3-run home run from Denali Lecker. 4 home runs in game 1, 2 home runs in game 2 to win that game by the score of 9-1, and it just took 5 innings. Allison Ducey got the win for the Hawks. She went complete game in 5 innings. She gave up 3 hits, a run. It was earned. She walked a batter and struck out 6 to pick up her 7th win of the season. That is in game 2. Kalena Burns had 4 RBIs in the game. She had for sure she had a single. She had an RBI single, and she had an RBI fielder's choice in that game in game 2 for the Hawks to win that game. Let me go back to game 2. She had a home run, a 3-run home run, and then her second at bat had a sacrifice fly that was made into an RBI. So she had 4 RBIs in the game. Iowa with 6 hits in game number 2. in the 9-1 win in just 5 innings. In Game 3, the second game of the doubleheader yesterday, Iowa jumped up to 1-0 lead, made it 2-0. Riley Sheehy would be the one score in the top of the first inning. Iowa then would get 2 more in the top of the second inning to make it 3-0, but Rutgers would come back with 2 of their own in the bottom of the third. Iowa coming back in the top of the fourth inning would get 2 more runs. Sammy Diaz would score. Bradley Klosterman would score. And then the Hawks would get an insurance run on a solo home run by Kalena Burns in the top of the 7th inning to make it 6-2. Rutgers would not get anything in the bottom of the 7th inning, and Iowa thus would win that game. Iowa with 6 runs, 11 hits in game number 3. They had 6 runs batted in. Klosterman in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday was 4 for 4. Burns was 3 for 4. Again, 6 runs, 11 hits for the Hawkeyes. They did commit 3 errors in the game, and Iowa had 4. Baines walked 3 times and Diaz walked once. It's just been an interesting weekend, but also Burns had the home run. That was her second home run of the weekend. 7 home runs for the Hawkeyes all weekend long. Lauren Shaw went back in the circle. She pitched 7 innings, got a complete game out of it, gave up 4 hits, 2 runs. Neither were earned, didn't walk a batter, and struck out 4 while facing 26. She runs her record to 7-3 on the season. So that brings us to game number 4 in the series, and a big game that it is for the Iowa Hawkeyes. As Allison Ducey will go back in the circle for Iowa this afternoon, actually this morning. Having a little bit of a late start because of weather that had gone through. There was some lightning within an 8-mile radius of Piscataway, so they had to delay it about 15 minutes, and we're going to get started here in the next few minutes, but it'll be Allison Ducey in the circle today. Allison went only 5 innings in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, giving up 3 hits, a run. It was earned. She walked 1, struck out 6. She pitched 81 pitches. I think she was just kind of getting warmed up. But again, she just went 5 innings. And what's ironic about that is that the last time the Hawks played a 5-inning game and won it, this one was 8-0 over the Indiana Hoosiers in Game 2 back on the 3rd of April. And Allison Ducey was in the circle for the Hawkeyes then and going 5 innings. And she ran her record then to 5-3. And in that game, that was the 8-0 win for the Hawks. And that was a 5-inning game. Ducey went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits then. She walked a batter, and she struck out 7 in that 5-inning performance and pitched. She had 75 pitches in that game. So Allison Ducey kind of getting back into the swing of things, getting into a natural rhythm for the Hawks. Hawks on a 3-game winning streak after having lost 3 of 4 against Minnesota, 3 of 4 against Northwestern, and 3 of 4 against Wisconsin. Those are some pretty formidable opponents for the Hawks to tangle with, but they gave them a good run, and they're ready to roll here in this game. The Hawks will be facing Ashley Hitchcock. And Ashley Hitchcock has already pitched in this weekend 6 2/3 innings, giving up 7 hits, 7 runs. They all are earned. 6 walks and 6 strikeouts in her 2 appearances. She pitched 3 2/3 in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday, and she pitched 3 innings in the first game. She pitched 3 innings in game number 2, which was the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, going 3 innings, 3 hits, 6 runs, and 6 earned runs. She faced 16 batters, and she threw 74 pitches. So we'll see if Rutgers may have a chance to get this turned around this weekend in this 4th game of this series this weekend against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Ashley Hitchcock again in the circle, the right-hander, the sophomore. And is facing Briley Klosterman, who's just been on a terror here this weekend. And the first pitch to her is down and away. Klosterman 7 of 10 batting this weekend alone. She has her first home run as a Hawkeye, a solo home run, but she's just been on base all weekend long. She's also had a couple of walks. Here's one that she'll swing at and foul back behind the backstop. Klosterman in yesterday's game number 2 of the doubleheader went 4 for 4 with a run scored and a couple of runs batted in. That came in the 4th inning. One of the RBIs was in that 4th inning. She's even the count here at 1 ball and 1 strike. Here is the 1-1 that she lifts out to left field, and that'll drive Iliopolis back. And the Hawkeyes start off game number 4 with a solo home run from Briley Klosterman. She lifts it in the opposite field, got around on the pitch quickly, and she gets the fat part of the bat out on it, and she hits her second home run of the weekend and her second home run of her Iowa Hawkeye career. And just like that, the Hawks are off and running in this game number 4 with a 1-0 lead. Now, I realize we got a long way to go, but this Iowa team, let me tell you what they've done coming into the game. They have scored 26 runs against Rutgers on 27 hits. Now, 27 and 28 hits, 8 home runs Iowa has hit this weekend alone. They had 10 on the whole season coming into the game. Brings up Riley Sheehy. Riley Sheehy at the plate. Sheehy is 3 for 8 in this series with a double. And here's one that she'll lift foul down the opposite line. She's still smiling from that home run that Briley Klosterman hit. Sheehy, the junior out of Newtown, Pennsylvania, coming into the game today, hitting .273, 27 hits and 99 at-bats, has started every game in left field for head coach Renee Gillespie. 2 doubles and a triple for Riley Sheehy. Here is the 1-1 pitch that's down and in. Ashley Hitchcock has given up some home runs already on the in this weekend. Here is the 2-1 pitch to Riley Sheehy, and that's down and away. Hitchcock yesterday, she came in a pitch in the 4th inning. Give up the home run to Kalena Burns in the 7th inning. Here's one that Riley Sheehy will get around on. And the reason they're hitting it to the opposite field, number one, is because Hitchcock can throw the ball pretty hard. Iowa just stepping to the plate and swinging the bat, seeing it. I know Kalena Burns, one of her comments made after the game yesterday after the doubleheader, because she had been playing so well. Burns herself is 5 of 9 with a couple of home runs. Here's the 3-2 that's called strike 3 on that inside corner. 1 gone in Iowa's top of the 1st inning. They lead at 1-0 on the Briley Klosterman solo home run moments ago. That'll bring up Denali Lecker. Denali Lecker, the freshman out of Ogden, leading this team in batting with a .330 batting average, 32 hits and 97 at-bats. Here is the first offering to her that's out and away. Lecker with 8 doubles on the season, 4 home runs, 12 are the extra base hits she has out of her 32 hits in this series. Lecker is at 1 hit in 6 at-bats. She has a home run. Here's a pitch that's down and away, so it's 2 balls and no strikes. 1 hit in 6 at-bats. She has walked 4 times in the weekend. She does have a 3-run home run to her credit as well. Here's the 2-0 to Denali Lecker, a pitch that's down and in. So it's 3 balls and no strikes to the freshman. Denali Lecker had a 3-game hitting streak coming into the weekend. She had extended that, and then she didn't get a hit, although she had 3 walks in game number 2 yesterday. First game of the doubleheader. She draws another walk here in this top of the 1st inning. And for Lecker, that's her 5th walk of the weekend. Iowa has walked 17 times this weekend against Rutgers pitching. Rutgers has walked but 3 times against Iowa pitching. A solo home run for Brodie Klosterman gives the Hawks a 1-0 lead, her second home run of the weekend. Both of them are solo shots. And that'll bring up Kalena Burns. Now, Burns herself been on a tear, 5 of 9 at the plate, 2 home runs, one of them a solo home run. That was yesterday, and she hit a 3-run home run in the first game of yesterday's doubleheader. Looks at strike one. She has 8 RBIs on the weekend. Iowa just been on a terror this weekend, feasting on Rutgers pitching. Down on the count at 0-1 strike is Kalena Burns. Here's a pitch that's down and in on her. In that second game yesterday, Burns singled in her first at-bat, an RBI singled in her second at-bat, popped up to short, and then she hit the solo home run, 3 for 4 yesterday. Here's a swing and a miss. She's down on the count now to ball and 2 strikes. In the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, she got things going for the Hawks in a 3-run home run at the top of the first inning, scoring Brodie Klosterman and Riley Sheehy in front of her. Burns would then get an RBI and a sacrifice fly in her second at-bat and grounded out to second base in her third at-bat. Here's one that she'll lift out into just over top of the third baseman, but she was able to get up and make the catch. Peyton Linkovich, that's out number 2. Out number 2 in the Hawkeye top of the first inning. It'll bring up Marissa Peak. Marissa Peak on the weekend, 2 of 9. She hit a 3-run home run herself. That was back in game number 1 in a 4-run top of the 5th inning for the Hawks to take a 5-2 lead in that game. Marissa Peak with the big blow in the game. She was 1 for 4 in that game. Here she's up in the count at 1-0 strikes, a pitch that's down and in. Again, weather had delayed the start of this game about 15 minutes. Looks to be a little more partly cloudy at this point. Still windy. It was extremely windy on Friday. Yesterday, not nearly as bad. Similar today as yesterday. Winds out of the southwest at about 10 to 20 miles an hour. Here's a pitch that's just off the plate. So it's 3 balls and no strikes to Marissa Peak, the freshman out of Wentzville, Missouri, batting in the number 5 spot, catching today. She's caught all weekend long. Here is the 3-0 to her, and she takes a strike right down the middle. Peak from behind the plate. Has done a nice job in keeping Rutgers runners from stealing bases. Here's one that she'll lift foul behind the backstop. Peak on the weekend, 2 of 6 in catching runners attempting to steal. On the season, 6 of 22 is Marissa Peak from behind the plate. She and Lindy Milkowski sharing the duties. Lindy hasn't played this weekend. Here's the 3-2, one that, again, that Peak will lift foul, and it will be just in front of the backstop, caught by the catcher, Kirsten with Stanley, and that ends the Hawks in the top of the first inning. But Iowa gets a run. A solo home run from Brodie Klosterman gives Iowa the 1-0 lead as we head into the bottom of the second inning. And a little bit of a lineup change for Rutgers as Peyton Linkovich will begin things for Rutgers when play continues. Want to take the time to welcome and congratulate new University of Iowa President Dr. Barbara J. Wilson. She a unanimous selection of the Board of Regents state of Iowa earlier this week. She'll begin her term as the president of University of Iowa on July 15, and she will be filling for Bruce Harold, who is retiring. She was an executive vice president and vice president for academic affairs for the University of Illinois system since 2016. She joined the 3 main campuses of the University of Illinois system in the year 2000, was actually promoted to various faculty roles before becoming the executive vice president and vice president for academic affairs. Dr. Barbara J. Wilson, the new president of the University of Iowa, and interestingly enough, that the University of Iowa will be celebrating its 175th year in 2022. So it'll be Peyton Linkovich stepping nights, an RBI, and a run scored for her. She has 7 doubles on the season and 4 home runs to go with her .312 batting average. Here's one that she'll bounce right to Denali Lecker. He'll pick it and quickly get back to first base for the putout, and that's out number 2 for Rutgers here in the bottom of the first inning. Kirsten with Stanley, the freshman catcher, now stepping into the batter's box with Stanley, a .241 hitter as of yesterday, now down to or up to .250, as she was 1 for 3 yesterday. On the weekend, she's 4 for 9 with a run scored and a stolen base. Here's the first pitch from Ducey, one that's inside out that she'll foul it on the first base line. With Stanley, again, 1 hit yesterday, so 21 out of 86. She has a couple of doubles and a triple to her credit. There are 6 players for Rutgers that have double digits RBIs, and she is one of them. Here is the 0-1. That's now 1 ball and 1 strike. She has 12. Coming into today's game, Gabrielle Calloway leading in RBI production for Rutgers. Here's the 1-1 from Allison Ducey, a pitch that's well inside, and apparently it hit her on the thigh, the right thigh. So Kirsten with Stanley, just hit by a pitch, will head down to first base. And for Ducey, on the season, that is the 6th batter that she has hit with a pitch. Allison with 74 2/3 innings pitched coming into the game, 69 hits, 28 runs, 24 of them earned. 2.25 ERA with her 7-4 record. This is her 13th start, 17th appearance, and she fires a strike right past Kayla Bach. Teams are hitting .250 against Allison. Here is the 0-1 to Kayla Bach, the freshman second baseman. Here's an attempt, a stolen base by Kirsten with Stanley. The ball goes out into center field, but Brodie Klosterman there to back it up and not allow with Stanley to get any further. In the series, Rutgers is hitting at .288 against the Hawkeyes, against Hawkeye pitching. Iowa hitting .365 on the weekend, their best hitting weekend they've had all year. Here is the 1-1 that's called strike 2 on the outside corner. Allison Ducey to Marissa Peak. When the Hawks get to the plate, Grace Baines will start it off for Iowa with a 1-0 lead. Well, at least for now anyway, 1-0. With 2 outs in Rutgers' bottom of the first, here is the 1-2 to Bach. She'll lift it up in a high fly. It'll be in the infield, and Amber DeSena will take care of it at second base. So Rutgers gets a runner on after being hit by a pitch. She's stranded at second base. Iowa will lead this game 1-0 heading into the top of the second inning when play continues. Want to congratulate University of Iowa football players for being selected in the NFL draft. Chauncey Golston went in the 3rd round to the Dallas Cowboys. Amir Smith-Marset went in the 5th round to the Minnesota Vikings. Davion Nixon also in the 5th round to the Carolina Panthers. Nick Neiman picked in the 6th round by the Los Angeles Chargers. Congratulations to those former Hawkeyes. That's 2, 3, 4 this season. The Hawks had 5 selected a year ago, 4 in 2019, 3 in 2018, and 4 back in 2017. So a lot of NFL rosters are getting University of Iowa Hawkeye football players, but we congratulate them. And hopefully if you were one of those persons that attended the open spring practice yesterday at Kinnick, you were able to see what the fall season will look like for University of Iowa football, getting prepared for the Indiana Hoosier game. That is September 4th. And remember, Friday will be September 3rd at the Iowa River Landing in Coralville. It's Friday on September 3rd at the Iowa River Landing in Coralville. It's a day-long festivity of Iowa Hawkeye everything. Grace Baines will start it off for the Hawks. In the top of the second inning, Iowa sent 5 players to the plate. got a solo home run from Briley Klosterman. And Denali Lecker also walked and was stranded at first base at the end of the inning. But Iowa leads this game 1-0. Has really built a lot of confidence, gained a lot of confidence this weekend with the way they've been hitting the ball and scoring runs. Here's the first offering from Ashley Hitchcock, and it's down and away, so it's ball one. Ashley Hitchcock came in and she relieved in the fourth inning yesterday. And here's the 1-0. It's now 2 balls and no strikes. And against Grace Baines, Baines was walked, and she singled against Ashley Hitchcock in the second game yesterday. Here is the 2-0. It's now 2 balls and 1 strike. And in game 1, in which Ashley Hitchcock went 3 innings, it was Grace Baines hitting a home run. Here's the 2-1 to her. It's down and away. Baruti, that was Baruti's that she was pitching against, hitting against. So Hitchcock was able to pitch in games 2 and 3. She was relieved in the top of the fourth by Vickers, and here is a walk issued to Grace Baines. That is the second walk of the game for Ashley Hitchcock. For Grace Baines, on the weekend alone, that is her 5th walk of the weekend to go along with her 2 base hits. So she's still 2 for 5. And she has 5 walks to her credit. Here is Nia Carter. She looks to bunt it down the third base line, but it bunts foul. Trying to advance Grace Baines. Nia Carter, the sophomore from Rancho Cucamonga, California. And Nia on the weekend, 2 for 9. And that hit is a double. She tried to extend into a triple, and she was thrown out at third base. But it was a 2-run double that she was able to help the Hawks to that win in that game, which was the first game of the doubleheader yesterday. It was a 2 RBI double that she was thrown out at third base, and that was the 3rd out of the inning. But it gave the Hawks all the runs they needed in that game. That was their 6th of the game. And here's a pitch that's down and away. So 2 balls and 1 strike. Again, Ashley Hitchcock is right around the strike zone a lot. Just she's not getting the calls that she thinks she wants from the home plate umpire. So she shows a little bit of frustration from time to time. Here's the 2-1 that Nia will bunt foul. Trying to slap, bunt it, put it out into play, and zip down to first base, but she can't get that ball out into a fair territory. So 2 balls and 2 strikes on Nia Carter. Yesterday's game, Nia was 1 for 4. Here is the pitch that she'll lift just outside of the infield, but reaching out and making the stab grab is Kiana Workman right as she was getting to the grass in left field. So she reaches up and makes the catch on Nia Carter. Beautiful catch by her. She was running direct back. It was the Willie Mays catch. If you remember, ever seen that highlight of Willie running that ball down in the outfield, catching it over his head, his shoulders. That's exactly what Workman did on that play. 1 out. Amber DeSena now at the plate for the Hawks. Getting the start here at second base. Bogar started yesterday and both games. Amber DeSena started in Monday. In the first game, struck out twice, and then she was pinch hit for it and replaced by Arely Bogar. Count even at 1 ball and 1 strike. So DeSena on the weekend is 0 for 2 on the season. She has a .080 batting average with those 2 hits and 25 at-bats. Here's a pitch that's upstairs, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike on the freshman out of Concord, California. Amber really getting more comfortable all the time. She started all 4 games at second base against Minnesota, collecting her 2 hits that she has on the season. Here is the 2-1. It's now 2 balls and 2 strikes. And she started the last 2 games of the Northwestern series. So head coach Renee Gillespie getting those freshmen playing time. She knows that that's where the future of Iowa softball is. In those freshmen, 7 of them see action a lot. Here's the 2-2 that is just down and in off the plate. So it's a full count on Amber DeSena. We're in the top of the second inning. Iowa leads this game 1-0 on a solo home run from Briley Klosterman. And 1 out, Amber DeSena, the number 8 hitter, at the plate for the Hawks. Here's the 3-2 from Ashley Hitchcock, and she walks Amber DeSena. 2 walks in the inning for Ashley Hitchcock. Sammy Diaz will come to the plate. And for Hitchcock, those are walks 7 and 8 on the weekend alone. Coming into the weekend, Hitchcock had walked 63. So she is up to 71 batters walked on the season. It brings up Sammy Diaz with 1 out, runners at first and second. Here is the first pitch to her that she rips down the left field line, and head coach Renee Gillespie is going to hold Grace Baines at third. First pitch single, hit single by Sammy Diaz. And that will put runners at all of the bases for the Hawks, and to bring up Briley Klosterman, who's just been on a terror for Iowa. Again, 7 of 10 coming into the game. She hit a solo home run to begin this game. We'll see what Rutgers is up to here. Really, I think Renee Gillespie, as both the defense and the offense are communicating with one another, I'm sure Renee Gillespie is just telling her to hit the pitch that is good enough to hit and just drive it somewhere without trying to slug it for a home run. But she's got the bases loaded. Sammy Diaz at first after just singling. That moved Amber DeSena, who had walked, to second base, and Grace Baines, who also had walked from second to third. Nia Carter popped up to short, and we're at the top of the order in the top of the second inning. Iowa with a chance to blow this game open with Briley Klosterman at the plate. 8 for 11 at the plate this weekend alone, with 2 solo home runs hit by Briley Klosterman. She's got the bases loaded. Here's the first pitch from Ashley Hitchcock. It's a pitch that she'll lift right at the second baseman. Misses the tag on the runner going to second because she had just gotten by her. That was Sammy Diaz, so Sammy will be safe. Everybody will move up a run. Grace Baines will score, and Briley Klosterman will be on first base with a fielder. Actually, she was thrown out by the second baseman. Oh, they called her safe. It was a nice try there by the second baseman for the Rutgers Knights, Kayla Bach. She just didn't have the timing right on making the tag and then trying to get the double play. She missed the tag, and then as she was trying to get the double play, Briley Klosterman was able to get to first before the throw got there. And now it's Riley Sheehy at the plate. We'll get the official word on the Klosterman infield hit, and she is given a fielder's choice, and she's at first base, but it is an RBI for her. Here's one that's lifted out to left center field, and it hits off the top of the wall by Sheehy. 1 run is in. DeSena is coming, and here comes the second runner from second base. That's Sammy Diaz. So scoring from third is Amber DeSena. Second base is Sammy Diaz. Riley Sheehy, it looked like she was, hits a double. All the runners were getting back. This ball just missed being a home run by about 2 feet. And that'll bring up Denali Lecker. So Sheehy at second base. Briley Klosterman may have been thrown out at third. Here is Denali Lecker. Here's an appeal down to and so it's 3 balls and no strikes on Denali Lecker. Lecker in her first at bat was walked. She was stranded at first base. That back in the first inning. Iowa leads this game 4-0. We're just in the top of the second. Hitting against Ashley Hitchcock, and now Lecker will draw her second consecutive walk, and it is the 6th of the weekend for her. So she has 6 walks, and Grace Baines has 5. So with Riley Sheehy at second, Denali Lecker at first, and now Rutgers is going to make a pitching change, and coming in will be Izzy Baruti for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And Baruti has seen some time in the circle. Just in the top of the second, there's she'll inherit 2 runners on with 1 out. And she'll be facing Kalena Burns. So Iowa with a 4-0 lead. Brodie Klosterman did get thrown out at third base. And there are 2 outs in the inning for Izzy Baruti. Now, Baruti has thrown 10 1/3 innings. She pitched all 7 of them in Game 1 on Friday when Iowa exploded for 11 runs. All 11 of those were earned and go against Baruti's ERA. She gave up 10 hits. She walked 5. She struck out 3. So Baruti on the weekend, 10 1/3 innings pitched, has given up 17 hits, 16 runs, all of them earned. She has walked 8 batters and struck out 3 while facing 57 batters. Here she is now pitching against the Hawkeyes in just the top of the second inning. So we'll see if she can put a stop to this Iowa offensive onslaught. Iowa has scored 3 times here in the top of the second to go with 1 in the top of the first and lead it 4-0. Kalena Burns working against Izzy Baruti in a pitch that's down and in on her. Kalena, she grounded out. She popped up to third base in her first at bat today, but she has been on a tear herself this weekend. 5 of 9 coming into the game today. Here's the 1-0 that is off the plate on the outside part of the plate in a strike. Kalena hit 2 home runs yesterday, 1 in each of the games. She hit a solo home run in Game 2 and a 3-run home run in Game number 1 yesterday. Again, Iowa with 8 home runs, almost had number 9 as Sheehy just missed a grand slam in her at bat. She sits at second base right now. Here's a 2-ball and 1 strike count on the sophomore from Corona, California, Kalena Burns. Burns, the designated player today. Here's one that she hits to the right side and off of the glove of the first baseman. And it's going to be a base hit for Kalena Burns. That was a hard shot off of the glove of Gabrielle Calloway. And that will move all the runners up a base and have the bases loaded with Marissa Peak coming to the plate. Iowa having a nice weekend at the plate. Here's the first pitch to Marissa Peak, and it's down and in on her. Marissa popped up to the catcher in her first at-bat. Marissa on the weekend, just the weekend alone, at .222 and 2 of 9. One of those hits a 3-run home run. Here is the 2-1 to her. That's called strike 2. So they're going to give an error to the first baseman. That was a real hard shot, a line drive shot. You know, Callaway able to get a glove on it, but she couldn't get balanced enough to control it. Here is the 2-2, so it's 3 balls and 2 strikes on the freshman, Marissa Peak from Wentzville, Missouri. Bases are loaded, 2 outs. Iowa still at the plate. Here is the 3-2. It's a pitch, a swing, and a miss. Well, apparently it was just a 3-1 count. And so Marissa Peak in a full count with the bases loaded. Iowa with 3 runs in already in the top of the second, lead it 4-0. Here is the 2-2, a pitch that Peak will foul it off of her instep. She reaches down, trying to rub it to get that pain to go away. It doesn't feel very good. Marissa on the season has hit in all games. Has hit in 15 games this year, 4 multi-hit games. All of them are 2-hit games. She does have 1 4 RBI game. Here is the 2-2 that she'll hit foul just in front of Renee Gillespie down the third base line. Peak a .237 hitter coming into today's game. 18 hits and 76 at-bats, 5 doubles, 3 home runs. Having a nice initial Hawkeye season. Here is the 2-2 that she swings at and will foul it back. Earlier this season, she had a 6-game hitting streak going. And heading into today's game, she'll be trying to restart a hitting streak and a reaches base streak. Here is the 2-2 again, a pitch that's up and in on her, but she'll foul it back. Tough hitting for the Hawks this weekend, not only putting it out into play, hitting home runs and just moving runners around, but they're tough at bats. They're fouling pitches off, not giving up on anything easy. With the bases loaded and 2 out, Iowa leads this game 4-0. Izzy Baruti into pitch. Here is one that she'll lift just to the left of the shortstop, but on the play, she's able to tag Kalena Burns heading down to first base. It was a nice play by the shortstop, Kiana Workman. She had to go to her left, picked it up on the hop, and as she's running by second base, tags out Kalena Burns. But Iowa gets 3 runs on just 1 hit. 2 hits, excuse me. They had 2 walks, 3 walks in the inning. So Iowa doing the damage again, leading this game 4-0, heading into the bottom of the second inning. It'll be the number 5 hitter, Anissa Iliopoulos, when play continues. Well, Iowa's jumping out on Rutgers again in this game, leading this game 4-0, heading into the bottom of the second inning. It'll bring Anissa Iliopoulos to the plate. Iliopoulos 3 for 8 on the weekend, has scored 3 runs. She does have a stolen base. Iliopoulos with a .207 batting average, facing Allison Ducey. Here's the first pitch to her that'll hit her somewhere off the right leg. And so that will put her on base after the hit by pitch. That's the second one this game that Allison Ducey has put on base due to hitting them with the pitch. And that'll bring up Taylor Fawcett. Taylor Fawcett, 3 for 9 on the weekend. She has a double to her credit. with teammate Anissa Iliopoulos on first base. Here's the first offering from Allison Ducey that's down and away. 1 ball and no strikes. Here's the 1-0 from Allison Ducey, Taylor Fawcett. And it's a pitch that she'll lift foul. Fawcett with a 158 batting average coming into the weekend. Fawcett 103 batting average, 3 hits and 29 at bats. So she's improved that just a little bit, going 3 for 9 in this series against the Hawks. Hawks pitching. She fouls one back. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. Here's the 1-1 from Allison Ducey. And it's a pitch that's up and away. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Taylor Fawcett, the number 6 hitter, sophomore right fielder. And here's the 2-1, one that she'll swing at, and she'll foul it, ricochet off the face mask of Marissa Peak and the home plate umpire. Just skims at it so fast, they don't have any time to react whatsoever. Here it comes. Don't even have any time to duck. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bottom of the second inning, nobody out. Runner at first in Anissa Iliopoulos. Here's a pitch that's bounced foul down the third base line in front of the Rutgers dugout. So 3 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the 3-2 that's fouled back into the backstop. Count remains the same on Taylor Fawcett. Here is the 2-2 again from Allison Ducey to Marissa Peak. A pitch that's lifted up into the air, out into center field. Brody Klosterman will come in on it, make the catch. And that is out number 1 in Rutgers' second at bat. Kiana Workman will come to the plate. Workman coming into this game 4 for 9 with a double. She has 3 runs batted in. So she has provided some production at the plate for Rutgers. 0 for 3 yesterday in the second game of the doubleheader. Here's the first pitch from Allison Ducey, one that's up and away, so it's ball 1. She was 1 for 2 in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday. That was a 9-1 win for the Hawks. That was in the bottom of the 5th inning when Rutgers would get the 1 run on a solo hit by Linkovich. Here's a strong swing and a miss by Workman. And in game 1 on Friday, she had a 2 RBI double in the bottom of the 7th inning to bring the game to 11-8. She was part of the system when the bases were loaded when Iowa ended the game in the bottom of the 7th. There was a chance for Rutgers to come and win that game, but Iowa shut him down. It was a ground ball to Arilee Bogar. She stepped on second to get the force out, and thus ending that game. Workman had a single to begin the game, so she was 2 for 4 in game number 1. Here's one that's a slow roller to Amber DeSena. She does a nice job to turn. I thought she was going to go right to first base, but she turned and made a nice throw to Grace Baines to get the force on Anissa Iliopoulos. Out number 2, so Workman will be on base on a fielder's choice, and Haley Hakhlatubi will come to the plate. Left-handed hitting Hakhlatubi is 0 for 7 on the weekend. She has scored a run. Here's the first offering from Allison Ducey, and it's one that's swung on and missed by Hakhlatubi. Hakhlatubi coming in with a .213 batting average into the weekend. Again, 0 for 7. Here's the 0-1 from Allison Ducey. Swing and a miss again by Hakhlatubi. Allison on target here today again. She threw 5 innings of game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday, and the game just went 5 innings. She did give up a solo home run. and had a walk. So in those 5 innings, she contained the Rutgers hitters pretty well, and then her own teammates did very well at the plate. In that game, a 3-run home run hit by Kalena Burns in the top of the first inning. Then a home run hit by Denali Lecker, a 3-run home run in the top of the 4th inning yesterday. Alice Aducci records her second strikeout of the day, striking out Hakla Tubi, and that ends Rutgers in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Iowa has scored in each of its first 2 at-bats, 1 in the first on a Brade Klosterman solo home run and 3 in the second. As we head into the top of the 3rd inning, it'll be Grace Baines to start it off for the Hawks when play continues. So in other sports news around the University of Iowa, the Iowa field hockey team playing today in an NCAA quarterfinal against Northwestern. The other 3 quarterfinals are North Carolina against Stanford, Michigan against Bucknell, and Louisville will tangle with UConn. At 2 o'clock today, it's Iowa and Northwestern from North Carolina. Iowa, the number 4 overall seed. In men's golf, after round 2, the Hawks in second place, 20 over par, 596. They trail Illinois by just 2 strokes. Sophomore Mac McClear is in a tie for first place in the individual race with an even par 144. Alex Shockey is 2 strokes back, tied for 4th at 2 over 146. Iowa is teaming with Illinois and Michigan State throughout the golf course today. Michigan State is in 3rd place, but 20 back. So Iowa not in really any danger of getting worse than second place, but it has a very good chance of getting first place today. They're playing as I speak to you about that. University of Iowa women's golf team ended at the Big Ten tournament last weekend against Mainville. They finished 10th. Michigan State won that. And Clara Wildhaber was 24th, along with Morgan Goldstein with 6 over par 222s. So it's Grace Baines at the plate for the Hawks. And she is even the count now, 1 ball and 1 strike. Grace, in her first at-bat, walked and scored the first of those 3 runs in their last at-bat in the top of the 2nd inning. Working against Izzy Baruti. Here's a pitch that she'll swing and foul it off of herself, and comes with a little bit of pain. So she'll head back to the right-handed batter's box and try to complete this. She's 1 ball and 2 strikes now on Izzy Baruti. In the first game against Baruti, Baines hit a solo home run and a single in the 6th and 7th innings. Iowa would score 10 runs in those last 3 at-bats. Here is the 1-2. That's an off-speed pitch that's down and away from Izzy Baruti. Grace against Baruti was 2 for 4. She hit the solo home run in the top of the 6th, and she singled and scored in the top of the 7th inning. She would score in front of Arely Bogar on that grand slam home run. Here's the 2-2 pitch that's down and in. So it's 3 balls and 2 strikes on Grace Baines. Four to nothing lead for the Hawks. Here in the top of the 3rd inning, Grace Baines begins it off. Here is the 3-2 that she gets around on, and she'll streak it foul down the 3rd base line in front of head coach Renee Gillespie. So the 3-2 pitch again coming from Izzy Baruti, and it's one that is dribbled over to second base and picked up and thrown over to first. Kayla Bach to Gabrielle Calloway, and that's the first out of the inning for the Hawks in the top of the 3rd. Brings up Nia Carter. Nia Carter popped up to short. Actually, she hit it over the shortstop's head just a little bit, but Kiana Workman was able to reach up and grab it, getting out into left field. that back in the top of the second inning. Here's a pitch that's hit right back up through the center through Izzy Baruti, and Nia Carter is on base with her first hit of the game. Nia on the weekend, 2 for 9, so she's 3 of 11. A double to her credit. She's on base at first base, and Amber DeSena will come to the plate. DeSena walked in her first at-bat and scored on the Riley Sheehy double. So Nia Carter at first base, 1 out. Amber DeSena at the plate. Here's one that's hit right back to Izzy Baruti in the circle, and she completes the double play. Wow. It was hit right back to her, so she just turned and fired to second base. And the shortstop, Kiana Workman, across second base over to Gabrielle Calloway at first. That will quickly end the Hawks in this top of the third inning on the 1-6-3 double play. But Iowa leads this game 4-0 heading into the bottom of the third inning. It'll be the number 9 hitter, the designated player, Taylor Lane, when play resumes. So that is the 9th double play turned by Rutgers this season as they completed the perfectly thrown double play to end the Iowa top of the third inning. In other news around University of Iowa sports, the Iowa baseball team fell to Indiana yesterday 12-6, running their record now to 19-12. Those two teams are playing as we speak. I'll get a score for you on our next go-round when I can. Iowa has done very well up to this point, trying to stay in the upper tier of the Big Ten standings. Facing Indiana today for game number 3 in Bloomington. Here is the first offering to Taylor Lane. She tries to bunt it foul, and it goes foul back in the backstop. So here's the 0-1 from Allison Ducey to Taylor Lane. Here's one that she'll lift foul, but out of play and out of the ballpark. In baseball, it's Indiana and Iowa tied at 1, and they are in the middle of the third inning from Bloomington, Indiana. Lane with an 0-2 count on her. Here's the 0-2, an off-speed pitch that she won't chase. So it's 1 ball and 2 strikes on Lane, Taylor Lane, 1 for 3 on the weekend. She has played in the field once at second base. She's got 2 runs scored. She scored one of them yesterday. Here is the 1-2 that hits her on the arm. She went to swing at it, but it came up and in on her, hit her right on the forearm, the right forearm. So that's the third batter that Allison Ducey has hit with a pitch here today. So she on at first base, and that brings up the top of the order, Peyton Linkovich. Now, head coach Renee Gillespie is asking the home plate umpire if it didn't hit the bat versus hitting her in the arm. Now, the umpires are conferring. I don't think any of the other 3 saw it. And the other 2 saw it. The home plate umpire would be the only guy who had any kind of visual at it. Yeah, it hit her right on the wrist. Right on the right wrist as she was going to swing. It came up and in on her. And the athletic trainer is out taking a look at her, making sure that there's no damage to that wrist. So there'll be a runner on first base when play resumes. Here in the bottom of the third inning, Iowa leading this game 4-0. A solo home run by Briley Klosterman in the first got it started for Iowa, and then Iowa plated 3 more. In the top of the second inning, a 2-run double by Riley Sheehy. Sammy Diaz had singled to score Grace Baines, and then DeSena and Diaz would both score. Give Iowa with a 4-0 lead. That's where we sit now in the bottom of the third, and it's Peyton Linkovich who struck out in her first at-bat. Here is the first pitch that she lifts up to the outfield. Coming in strong is Bridie Klosterman to make the catch. Boy, she came a long way to make that catch. I think she thought it was deeper than it was, or maybe that Amber DeSena was going to head out there and try to make the catch. Amber, looking up into the sun, kind of gives up on it, and Bridie Klosterman comes a long way to make that catch. So that's 1 out, and it brings up Gabrielle Calloway. Calloway 2 for 9 in the series coming in. She grounded out to Denali Lecker at first base in her first at-bat. Here's the first offering from Alice Adducci, and it's a foul that's back behind the backstop. Again, Calloway had been the leadoff hitter in the first 3 games all season long, actually, and today she's being put in the number 2 spot. Maybe have a chance to let her be productive there with runners in front of her. And she's got one in front of her now, and Taylor Lane, who walked to begin this bottom of the third inning. Here is the 0-1 to Calloway. And it's a pitch that's down and in. Nice off-speed break-in pitch that Calloway came or got around on, but she just couldn't make any contact. So she's down to the count at 0-2 with this 1 out. Kirsten Withstanley is in the batter's box in the on-deck circle for Rutgers. Here's one that's fouled and hustling down the third base line. Making the catch is Marissa Peak. Right at the wall, just in front of the Rutgers dugout. And at the same time, Taylor Lane was tagging and on her way to second base. And what a direct throw from Marissa Peak all the way to Amber DeSena. She makes the catch right at the wall, and she throws down to second base and gets Taylor Lane trying to go from first to second after tagging up. And that, the third out of the inning. So just like that, the Hawks complete a double play. And they're out of this inning. They'll head into the top of the fourth inning, leading this game 4-0, Amber DeSena. It'll be actually Sammy Diaz for the Hawks when play resumes. That the 11th double play of the season for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Came at a great time to end that bottom of the third inning. Another Iowa sports news. University of Iowa men's tennis team lost in the Big Ten tournament to Michigan State on Thursday, ending their season. They lost 4-2. The women also lost to Ohio State 4-2 yesterday after beating Maryland on Friday 4-0. But Iowa women's tennis does still have a chance to make the NCAA tournament field, which will be announced on Monday. Michigan State and Ohio State are playing for the title match in the Big Ten. Michigan defeated Northwestern yesterday 4-1 in the other semifinal. University of Iowa women's rowing team is in Ann Arbor, Michigan, to face Michigan-Louisville today. And then the Big Tens will be Sunday, May 16, just outside of Indianapolis. And so Sammy Diaz will kick it off for the Hawks here in the top of the fourth inning. She singled and scored in her last at-bat, that in the top of the second inning. Izzy Baruti replaced Ashley Hitchcock in the top of the second inning. Here's the 1-1 to Sammy Diaz, a pitch that she'll hit to the shortstop. Kiana Workman, she bobbles it, and then she throws it away. And Sammy Diaz kind of strayed towards second base and didn't realize how hard that ball had come off the fence to the first baseman, Callaway. She had to quickly scram back, so they're going to give an error now to the shortstop, Kiana Workman. But we'll get the official ruling here shortly. And that'll bring up the leadoff hitter, Briley Klosterman. Briley hit a solo home run on their first at-bat. Here she'll dribble one to second base, and that'll move Sammy Diaz to second. Klosterman is out on a ground out to the second baseman, Kayla Bach. Bring up Riley Sheehy. Sheehy in her last at-bat just missed a grand slam home run by about 2 feet. And it was a 2-run double that she hit. Here is the first pitch to her. That's called strike one right down the middle. Izzy Baruti at the plate in the circle for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights in relief of Ashley Hitchcock. Iowa leads it 4-0 as a runner at second and Sammy Diaz. One out. Here is Riley Sheehy's 1-0 pitch, or 0-1 pitch is now 1 ball and 1 strike. Sheehy on the weekend, 3 for 8. She's scored 4 runs. She's walked twice. She's been hit by a pitch. And she is 1 for 2 today. Here's one that she'll bounce right to Kiana Workman at short, and she does not make the throw. She had to go to her right and come in a ways, and Riley Sheehy with good speed will beat out the throw, and that will move Sammy Diaz to third base. Riley does a nice job to scoot down first base line and get there safely for her second consecutive hit for her, and you have runners at the corners. And Denali Lecker at the plate. 1 out. Here's one that she'll hit right to second base. They're going to go home to get Sammy Diaz at the plate. What a nice play to get Sammy at home, as Kayla Bach had a hard liner to her, a one-hopper that she just picks right up, and she fires it home to the catcher with Stanley, and a nice throw and a great tag by with Stanley on Sammy Diaz for the second out. It does move Sheehy to second and puts Lecker at first with a fielder's choice. Brings up Kalena Burns. Burns having quite the healthy weekend for the Hawks. In her first 2 at-bats, she singled in her last at-bat. That's off of Izzy Baruti, who had just come in. And she popped up to third base in her first at-bat. So 1 for 2 today, 5 for 9 coming into the game today. A couple of home runs this weekend, a solo shot and a 3-run home run to help this Hawkeye offense along. Offense has done fairly well up to this point. Again, up leading 4-0. As I'd mentioned, coming into the game today, Iowa with 26 runs scored, and they have 4 here today, 27 hits coming into the game. And here's the 2-0. That's ball 3. Iowa with 6 hits already today. So add that to the 27 total. 33 hits for the Iowa Hawkeyes. A couple of doubles, 8 home runs. And they have 3 doubles now, as Sheehy hit one of their last at-bat. So Iowa just pelting the ball all over the field. And here's the pitch to Kalena Burns. It's called strike 1, so 3 balls and 1 strike. Izzy Baruti, the graduate senior, in the circle for Rutgers. 2 outs. Iowa's top of the 4th. Runners at first and second. Here's the pitch that she rips down the third baseline, but foul. She gets around on those pitches, and she can really zing it down the line. She almost had a 3rd home run yesterday. She hit the very top of the fence. Had the ball bounce back into play. Otherwise, she would have had her third home run of the weekend. Kalena Burns, a sophomore from Corona, California. 2 outs, full count on her. Here comes the pitch from Izzy Baruti. And it's one that's up and away, and so she will walk, and that will force in Riley Sheehy. Sheehy will go to third, Lecker will go to second, and Kalena Burns now at first base. And now Marissa Peak at the plate. Here's the first offering to her that she'll get a good cut at, the freshman from Wentzville, Missouri. She got on the fielder's choice in her first at-bat, or her second at-bat, last at-bat, and then she popped up to the catcher in her first at-bat. But Peak on the weekend, 2 for 9, has a 3-run home run to her credit. Here is the 0-1 to her that, again, she'll get around on, and she'll cut it foul to the backstop. So she's down on the count at no balls and 2 strikes. We're in the top of the fourth. Hawks got the bases loaded at a 4-0 lead. And Marissa Peak at the plate. Here's the offering from Izzy Baruti. And it's a pitch that Peak will lift out into right field, and it is. It'll bounce in front of the right fielder, so runs will score. Peak is around first to second. Will it be a 3-run double? It is, and the throw is well off the mark heading to home, and that will score Kalena Burns from first base. So a 2-run double and an error by the center fielder. Actually, it's the shortstop. But a 2-run double by Marissa Peak. And a third scored on an error. It gives the Hawkeyes now a 7-0 lead. And it brings up Grace Baines. And here's the 1-0 pitch to Grace Baines, and now becomes 1 ball and 1 strike. Iowa again having its way. 7-0 the lead now. After scoring 1 in the first, 3 in the second, and now 3 more here in the 4th inning, and there are 2 outs. Iowa's really been able to be productive, get run scoring production with 2 outs. Here's the pitch, an off-speed pitch to Grace Baines that's up and in on her. Baines, the freshman out of Kansas City, Kansas. Hit the first home run of her career back in the Minnesota series, and she hit a solo home run in this series. Here's the 2-1 to her that she'll get around on, and will it be foul? It's fair. The third baseman touched it in fair territory just in front of third base, and then it went foul, and it dribbled out into left field, and that allowed Marissa Peak to score from third base, and Baines is on first. And so the Hawks now move it up to an 8-0 lead. And now a pitching change will occur as Jaden Vickers will come in to pitch, the left-hander. Jaden Vickers, a sophomore from Crystal River, Florida. Getting her warm-up throws now with Grace Baines at first. Iowa with 4 runs in. Started with an error that Sammy Diaz got on. And then she was thrown out at the plate trying to score on the 2-run single by Kalena Burns. Brody Klosterman would ground out. A single by Sheehy. Sheehy was moved forward by the fielder's choice by Denali Lecker. Kalena Burns then walked, and Marissa Peak with the double. 2-run double. 4 runs for the Hawks. Here is Jaden Vickers. Now Vickers, interesting story. Earlier in this season, here is the 0-1. Now, Nia Carter will be hit by a pitch. So that'll move Grace Baines to second base. Jaden Vickers coming out of the Northwestern Series. She tossed 13 strikeouts in her Rutgers debut. Earlier this season. Iowa leads this game 8-0. Amber DeSena at the plate for the Hawks. And here is the 1-1 to DeSena, which is down and away. Grace Baines at second, Nia Carter at first. If Iowa can get a couple more runs here and hold Rutgers to nothing in the bottom of the 4th inning, I think that will end the game. Here is the 2-1 to DeSena. It's down and in on her, so it's 3 balls and 1 strike. On deck is Sammy Diaz. Diaz been putting the bat on the ball. So 3 balls and 1 strike to Amber DeSena. Here is the 3-1 to her that she'll take, and she'll hit right to the shortstop, Kiana Workman, and across the diamond for the 3rd out. But Iowa does get 4 runs to make it an 8-0 game. Just 2 hits on the inning for the Hawks. A hit batter, an error, albeit a throwing error, allowed the Iowa to get 4 runs. So we're heading into the bottom of the 4th inning, and it'll be Kirsten Stanley, the number 3 hitter for Rutgers when play resumes. 8-0 Iowa. So Iowa in the field here in the bottom of the 4th inning. They've got an 8-0 lead. Allison Ducey in the circle has pretty much handcuffed Rutgers in their first 3 at-bats. She has struck out 2, has hit 3 batters, though, giving up no hits. It'll be Kirsten Stanley to begin it for Rutgers. Here's the first pitch to her that's up and away, so it's 1 ball and no strikes. With Stanley on the weekend, 4 for 9. She has a stolen base and a run scored, so she's been able to put the bat on the ball. Here is the 1-0 from Allison Ducey, the senior, and it's lifted down the right field line. And Amber DeSena doing a nice job of racing to the right field line and catching it just before running into foul territory. Nice hustle by Amber DeSena. She raced out to get it from the second base position, and fundamentally great catch into the glove, and she used her bare hand to keep it there. right as she was hitting the right field foul line for out number 1. Kayla Bach will come to the right-handed batter's box. Bach, the freshman second baseman, has made a couple of nice plays today. Here's the first pitch to her that's up and away. Bach on the weekend is 1 for 8. Today she's 0 for 1. She popped up to Amber DeSena in her first at-bat. Batting in the number 4 spot, a .225 hitter. Here's the 1-0 from Allison Ducey, a pitch that Bach will rip at and foul into the press box. 8-0 the lead for the Hawks. We're in the top of the 4th inning. Again, for Iowa, that's 34 runs scored this weekend. 34 runs the Hawks have scored this weekend alone. Here is the 1-1 that is up and away. Iowa, in its last 12 games, all the way back to the Indiana series, when Iowa scored 36 runs from the first game of the Indiana series all the way through the Minnesota series, had only scored 34 runs those 24 games. That is 16 games. And here, in this weekend alone, Iowa with 34 runs in 4 games. Strikeout occurred to Kayla Bach. That is the 3rd strikeout of the game for Allison Ducey. Out number 2, and brings up Anissa Iliopoulos. 2 outs in Rutgers' bottom of the 4th inning. Iowa leads this game 8-0. Here's the first pitch to Iliopoulos from Allison Ducey, and it's off the plate, ball 1. Iliopoulos was hit by a pitch in her last at-bat and was stranded at first base on the weekend, 3 for 8. She has 3 runs scored. And she's up in the count at 1 ball and no strikes. Here's the pitch from Allison Ducey to Iliopoulos, and a good strong cut at it. She misses. So it's 1 ball and 1 strike. I want to say hello to Michelle Feldman, the mother of the Iowa's softball athletic trainer, Jake Feldman. Jake on the road with Rutgers in Piscataway, as he has been all season long with this Iowa softball team. So we say hello to his mother, Michelle, listening down the line. So 1 ball and 2 strikes on Anissa Iliopoulos. Here in the bottom of the 4th inning, 2 gone in Rutgers' bottom of the 4th, 8-0 the lead for the Hawks. Here is the swing and a miss, and that is the 4th strikeout of the game for Allison Ducey, and that will end Rutgers in the bottom of the 4th. It's 8-0. Iowa leads it going into the top of the 5th inning, and Sammy Diaz, the the next scheduled hitter to lead off for the Iowa Hawkeyes, the number 9 hitter. We'll see if that happens when play resumes. Well, I guess a lot of college track to talk about yesterday. Boy, this men's and women's track team doing very well down in the Billy Hayes Invitational in Bloomington, Indiana. In the long jump, Jamal Britt was 5th. The triple jump, James Carter won it. The hammer throw, Tyler Lanau was 4th. High jump, Cole Moeller was 4th. The men's 4x1A team finished 1st in 39.68. In the shot put, Elijah Barnes 3rd. In the discus throw, Jordan Johnson 2nd. Tyler Lanau 3rd. The 110 high hurdles had 5 Hawkeyes in the final, and Jalen McConico won it in 13.42. Jamal Britt, Josh Braverman, Grant Conway, Grat Reed all ran in the final. In the men's 100, Austin Kressler finished 2nd, Antonio Woodard 3rd. In the men's 400, Wayne Lawrence Jr. won it, 45.8 seconds. Colin Jefferson 2nd, DeJuan Fry 3rd. In the 400 hurdles, Austin Litz won it in a 50.99 time. And in the men's 800, Tyson Vandroska finished 2nd in a time of 1 minute 48.21 seconds. He was just off by a 1/10 of a second. Alex Still took 3rd. I'll get to the women's results here shortly. Arely Bogar will begin it for the Iowa Hawks in this top of the fifth inning. And Arely has had a nice weekend, 3 for 5 on the weekend. She hit a grand slam home run in game number 1 to help the Hawks to the 11-8 win in that game. So Arely will begin it for the Hawks, the left-handed hitting senior. I would think she'll probably go in to play second base, stay in the game. Senior from Trophy Club, Texas. Iowa leads 8-0. We're in the top of the fifth inning. Hitting against Vickers, Jaden Vickers. Here's Bogar's first swing, and it's a miss. Actually, it's fouled off. So Arely's batting average really has risen quite a bit. She's up to 161 now, 10 hits and 62 at-bats. Looks at a pitch, it's down and away. So here's the 1-1 to Arely Bogar against Jaden Vickers, the left-handed sophomore. Here's a pitch that's up and away from Arely, so she doesn't chase it. So she's up in the count at 2 balls and 1 strike. Bogar with a double and a triple and a home run on the season. Grand slam home run, albeit. Here's the 2-1 to Arely Bogar, up and in. 3 balls and 1 strike. Now, when she gets on, she's definitely a base-stealing threat. Bogar was thrown out yesterday in a base-stealing attempt. Here is the 3-1 to her that she'll lift down the left field line, and it is foul. So Arely Bogar being a tough out here to begin this top of the fifth inning for the Hawks. Iowa leads it 8-0. Left-handed hitting Arely Bogar, number 9 hitter in the lineup right here against Jaden Vickers. Here's one that's up and away, and it's a walk to Arely Bogar. And so that'll put her on base. And for Arely, her first walk of the weekend on the season for Arely Bogar at a 153 batting average. It's her third walk that she's had, and now I believe that Rutgers is going to make another pitching change. Hitchcock will come back in the top of the fifth inning. No outs and a runner on. So she won't be responsible for Arely Bogar being at first base. Brings up Riley Klosterman. Iowa leads this game 8-0, so Hitchcock is getting some more warm-up throws in. Rutgers kind of spinning its wheels here, just can't get things going consistently. Iowa feasting on the pitching, just hitting the ball very well. I can't say that their pitching is bad. They're throwing good pitches, throwing hard pitches, but Iowa has brought the bats with them this weekend and are doing quite well and hitting it around the diamond, hitting it out of the diamond. 8 home runs for the Hawks this weekend. A lot of runs. And I think internally, a lot of fun for this Iowa softball team. Leading this game 8-0. They won the doubleheader yesterday, 9-1 in 5 innings and 6-2. And then they won on Friday, 11-8. 4 home runs Friday. And there were 3 more hit yesterday, 1 today. Here is the first pitch to Ashley Hamilton in batting for Riley Klosterman. In the top of the fifth inning. And it looks like D. Ray Mayhew is going to pick up a bat for Riley Sheehy. Here's the 0-1 to Hamilton, a pitch that is just off the plate, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Ashley Hamilton coming into the game, batting average of 129 with 4 hits and 31 at-bats. She is 1 for 3 in the series with Rutgers. Takes a swing and misses, so she's down on the count at a ball and 2 strikes. Here's the 1-2 to Ashley Hamilton from Ashley Hitchcock. It's a pitch that's up and away, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. So Renee Gillespie definitely going to the bench. She'll have Donnie Ray Mayhew batting for Riley Sheehy, and then it'll be Avery Guy hitting for Kalena Burns. So they get that far. Here is the 2-2 that Ashley will swing at and miss. So Ashley Hamilton down on strikes. It is the first out of the inning, and it'll bring up D. Ray Mayhew. So Donnie Ray Mayhew steps into the batter's box. D. Ray on the season, still no batting stats whatsoever. Here's the first pitch as she rips down the third base line. She 0 for 13 at the plate coming into the game today. She's making her 12th appearance. Actually, she did get a pinch hitting role earlier this weekend. Yes, that back in game number 2, the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, she pinch hit for Grace Baines in the top of the 5th inning and drew a walk. So an even count on her, a 1 ball and 1 strike. D. Ray Mayhew, the Junior College Player of the Year 3 years ago in 2018, before becoming an Iowa Hawkeye. Here is the 1-1 from Ashley Hitchcock, a pitch that's just off the plate. 2 balls and 1 strike. Runner at first in Arilee Bogar, who just walked. Here's the 2-1 to Donnie Ray Mayhew, and it's one that she'll lift into the foul territory down the third base line. Making the catch at the fence is not Anissa Iliopoulos. It was Peyton Linkovich, the third baseman for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. That's a nice play. She bounced right into the padded wall for the second out. On Avery Guy will come in and bat for Denali Lecker, top of the 5th inning. And if she gets on, Aaron Carter will get a chance at the plate. Avery Guy now will come in. Avery's been in 2 games this weekend. She's had 1 at bat. Has a strikeout. So we'll see what Avery Guy can do with a runner at first base in Arilee Bogar. 2 outs in Iowa's top of the 5th inning, and Avery Guy at the plate. Coming into the game for the season, Avery 0 of 11 at the plate. This is her 19th appearance. Here is the 0-1 tour that's off the plate, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike to the senior from Cedar Rapids, prepping at Jefferson High School. Went on to Des Moines Area Community College for her first 2 years to get better prepared for Division I softball. Here is the 1-1 that's upstairs, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Avery has done a lot of pinch running this year. She has 5 runs scored in the appearances that she has made. She's up in the count at 2 balls and 1 strike. Runner on and Arilee Bogar, 2 outs. Here is the pitch that Avery Guy will lift foul back behind the backstop. So it evens the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Avery Guy back to the right-handed batter's box with a 2-2 count on her. Here's the 2-2 from Ashley Hitchcock, one that's down and in, so it's ball 3. 3 balls and 2 strikes on the senior shortstop, Avery Guy. Avery has started at third base a few games this year. Here's one that she'll lift right to Workman at shortstop. A line drive base hit for Avery Guy, her first of the season. It does move Arilee Bogar to second, and Aaron Carter now will come in and pinch hit for Kalena Burns. Runners at first and second, 2 outs, and Erin Carter now will step to the plate. Carter hasn't seen action this weekend. Yes, she has. She's been in 2 games. She has 2 at-bats. So Erin Carter, she played in game number 2. She pinch hit in the top of the 5th inning for Avery Guy and popped up to second base. And in the first game, Erin would pinch hit for Nia Carter in the top of the 7th inning and popped up to third base. Here she is now taking a good cut at the first pitch from Ashley Hitchcock and fouling it back. So Erin Carter on the season, 0 for 5 at the plate. This is just her 7th appearance that she's making. And the Hawks with runners at first and second, 8-0 lead, and we're in the top of the 5th inning. Here is the 0-1 to her that's upstairs, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Erin Carter. Here is the 1-1 that's now 2 balls and 1 strike. Erin Carter, 5'10" sophomore from Fenton, Michigan. Renee Gillespie going right to the bench, getting some of these other players a chance to get on the field with an 8-0 lead. Looking to sweep the series. Here's the 2-1 to Erin. Strike 2. It's at outside corner. So 2 balls and 2 strikes on the sophomore Erin Carter. Pinch hitting for Kalena Burns here in the number 4 spot. Burns had herself a nice weekend. Here's the 2-2 that she'll foul back off of the catcher. And it remains the same at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the 2-2 again from Ashley Hitchcock to Erin Carter, a pitch that she'll foul back once again, doing a nice job at the plate, being a tough out. She's trying to get those 2 runners on base to home. They are Avery Guy at first, who just singled, and Ariely Bogar at second base. Here's the 2-2 to Erin Carter, a pitch that she'll take a swing at and miss, and that is the end of the Hawks. Here in the top of the 5th inning, get a couple runners on, can't get them across, but they'll lead 8-0 going into the bottom of the 5th inning. Iowa 8, Rutgers nothing. In the women's track and field results at the Billy Hayes Invitational in Bloomington, Illinois yesterday, in the long jump, Tiana Tobias third, triple jump, Kayla Hutchins was third, and the hammer throw, Amanda Howe finished first. In the high jump, it was Delissa Huggins in 6th place. The 4x1 relay team finished second in a time of 45.92. That's the University of Iowa A team. LaSarah Hargrove, Tessa Roberts, Tiana Tobias, Tia Saunders. In the shot put, Lalauga Tausauga finished second. In the discus, she won it, 58.22 meters. And Serena Brown was second. In the women's javelin, Marissa Mueller second place. And the 100 hurdles, Jenny Kimbrough won it in a time of 13.61. Her preliminary time was 13.44. Paige McGee ran the final, finished second. Myrianne Beebe finished third, and Tiana Tobias finished fourth. In the women's 400, Courtney Stroman finished fourth. The 400 hurdles, Jenny Kimbrough won it in a time of 58.43 seconds. In the 800, Mallory King second in 2 minutes 5 seconds, 2 minutes 5.23 seconds, and Claire Pitcher finished fourth. In the women's 200, LaSarah Hargrove finished third, 23.9 seconds, and the women's 4x400 A team finished second. Tia Saunders, Tessa Roberts, Mallory King, and Courtney Stroman ran on that foursome for University of Iowa track and field. The Big Ten outdoor meet is coming up in 2 weeks in Champaign, Illinois. That's what the Hawks are gearing up for at this point. So that brings up Taylor Fawcett to the plate in an 8-0 deficit for Rutgers. Here's a swing and a miss. So she starts off with no balls and 1 strike. Fawcett flew out to Briley Klosterman in her first at-bat. Just few at-bats for this, just the 15th batter that they've sent to the plate in this game. Here is the 0-1 from Allison Ducey to Fawcett upstairs. Tell you what, when these pitchers get enough support, run support behind them, it does make the pitching a little bit easier, maybe a little bit less stressful. But they do feel a little more comfortable. Here's a pitch that's fouled back by Fawcett. Fawcett on the weekend 3 for 9 coming into today's game. Again, has just seen the plate one time, that back in the bottom of the second inning. Iowa with 8 runs. They scored 1 in the first, 3 in the second, and 4 in the fourth, and have a comfortable 8-0 lead against Rutgers here in the bottom of the fifth. Here is the 1-2 that's now 2 balls and 2 strikes. So here's the 2-2 from Alice Ducey, the senior out of Ankeny. Recorded her 700th career strikeout in yesterday's first game of the doubleheader. Climbing the charts at the U of I. She can only get so far because Britt Weil has almost all of the records, and she is well out in front of anybody in each of the categories: appearances, innings pitched, complete games, and strikeouts. Here's a pitch that's lifted up into the infield, and it'll be Grace Baines at short. So that makes the first out of this bottom of the fifth inning. If Rutgers doesn't score here, this game ends. Kiana Workman, the shortstop, got on a fielder's choice in her first at-bat. Looking at Allison Ducey. Here is the first pitch that's swung on and missed. Kiana Workman has had a nice weekend, 4 of 9 coming into the game, 3 RBIs. She was 1 for 3 yesterday. Here's the 0-1 from Allison Ducey, a pitch that is lifted into foul territory, and getting it just in front of the wall, in front of the backstop, is Marissa Peak. So that's 2 gone in Rutgers' bottom of the fifth inning, and it brings up Haley Hawk-Latubi. Hawk-Latubi 0 for 7 in the series, struck out in her first at-bat, and now 0 for 8. And we'll see what Alice Ducey has in store for her. Here's the first pitch to Hawk-Latubi. It's called strike 1 on the outside corner. So no balls and 1 strike. Here is the 0-1. It's bunted up into the air, and it'll be bunted fouled into the backstop. So it's no balls and 2 strikes. Rutgers Scarlet Knights just unable to get the bats moving, especially in the last 3 games. They were hitting the ball nicely in game 1, really put a lot of pressure on the Hawks defense, and then just unable to come through in games 2, 3, and 4. Here's the 0-2 that's now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Allison Ducey, she pitched a 5-inning game yesterday in the 9-1 win for the Hawks in the first game of that doubleheader. And she's looking to do the same thing here with an 8-0 lead. 2 outs. Here's the 1-2 pitch on Hawk-Latubi. And it's a pitch that's a swing and a miss. And the Iowa Hawkeyes are going to take game number 4 as they took games 1, 2, and 3. And Allison Ducey no-hits Rutgers in these 5 innings. She did hit 3 batters, and she gave anyway, so yes, 3 batters, and she didn't walk anybody else. So Allison Ducey, 2 5-inning games pitched for the Hawkeyes this coming weekend for Iowa to win this game 8-0. It was her 5th strikeout of the game, 705 in her career, and the Iowa Hawkeyes win 4 straight from the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and that's going to give them a boost of energy going into the weekend next weekend. With that 20-16 record, they're going to be no worse than tied for 5th place in the Big Ten. somewhere between 5th and 6th place in this Big Ten heading into the weekend next weekend. So next weekend's games are Friday against Nebraska. On Friday, that'll be a 3 o'clock start with the Nebraska Cornhuskers coming in. And the doubleheader on Saturday is at 1 o'clock and 3:30 from Bob Pearl Field. And then the finale on Sunday will be a noon game. Folks, that's a big series for this Iowa softball team. They are really starting to come on strong here. And although Rutgers, not a superior softball team, Iowa did what they needed to do to come in and take care of business on the road to win 4 games like this. They hit the ball very well. As I talked about, they have scored 34 runs this weekend. They've hit 8 home runs and numerous hits, too. They had 8 hits today to go with the 27, so that's 35 hits on the weekend for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Just an unbelievable type of weekend, but it's something that, they've been building on here for, the last couple of months since this season began. They know that they have to go to the plate and hit the ball. They've got to be able to field it, and that's what they've done consistently well is fielding. Pitching is starting to come on strong with Sarah Lehman and Lauren Shaw and, of course, Allison Ducey. But they have 2 big weekends of softball coming up ahead next weekend. It's Nebraska, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the Fighting Illini will conclude the regular season in 2 weeks right in Iowa City. I'm Jerry Koala. Thank you for tuning in to this broadcast this entire weekend of Iowa softball. They sweep the series from the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, winning Game 1 11-8 on Friday, winning yesterday the first game of the doubleheader 9-1 in 5 innings and 6-2, and then winning the game here 8-0 also in 5 innings. Allison Ducey gets the win in this game. Lauren Shaw gets the other 2 wins on the weekend. So the Hawks move up to 20-16 and look forward to the Nebraska series beginning next Friday. You have yourself a great rest of your weekend and a great week ahead. I'll talk to you again next Friday a little bit before the hour of 3 o'clock. I'm Jerry Koala for Iowa Hawkeye Softball right here on the YouTube Hawkeye Radio Network channel.